Order! What should we put on trial next? Hey guys, welcome back to Casting Commons, the show where we talk and discuss all things Pauper. I am your host, Teasdale, and this is my co-host, High Tide himself, Reese. Before we start, please do not forget to support us by rating us 5 stars on Spotify, following us on Twitter at CastingCommons1 for the most recent deck lists, and of course, subscribe and like as well, that's always a good one, on YouTube. So, how are you doing?
Yeah, good. Excited to get into our Pauper thought this week. It's a pretty spicy one.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's going to be a good discussion. So we're trying to beat the curve of all the other Pauper podcasts that I'll be covering it in about 3 weeks' time, because if people missed it, the trial of High Tide is coming to a close. So it's basically, I think, end of September, early October. We were said that they did move it to that date, that basically they'll update us on the format as well as obviously the trial or the state of if High Tide's going to be off or on trial. So we're going to briefly cover that very early on, like what we think should happen or all the different approaches that obviously the PFP could be going through. And then we're also going to talk about other things, because for me, and I'm going with Reese as well, not that I wrote this bit, that we both think that the trials was a major success. Even if High Tide is banned in 3 to 4 weeks or whatever, it's still been a great success that people have been getting to play High Tide, people get to being able to stress test the format if they can think it can handle it, etc. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to do a bit of a systematic more approach on what else they could unban or trial, and also discuss potentially if they could do a trial for like bannings as well, which is just going to be a little bit at the end. But mainly, the main thing is obviously let's touch on the High Tide bit first. So originally on the 31st of March, when they announced they were trial and unban Prophetic Prism and High Tide, they had a snippet which I'm just going to like quickly read, which is going to be difficult because I do struggle to read because I'm basically in a farmer's country, as a blooper definitely didn't happen at the start of this podcast anyways. But so the snippet from the article is, our hope is that the deck ends up, at best, an option in the metagame beneath the very best decks. If it ends up not being played after some experimentation, that's a fine outcome. If it ends up fringe or playable but not in the best decks, that's ideal outcome. These scenarios will leave it unbanned. If it breaks through and enables one of the 3 most successful decks in the metagame, however, we will likely ban High Tide again at the end of the trial. Having a kill from hand combo as one of the best 3 decks can be frustrating. Not every colour can interact with that stretch super well. So, to me, this is like a very high-level metrics for what they're going to do to ban or decide to ban or unban it. So, just first of all, going to touch on what we think if it should be banned or unbanned is the first thing. Either based on our own thoughts or based on their metrics, I guess, is an interesting way of looking at it. So, firstly, Reese, I'll pass it back to you since I've rambled on for a little bit.
Yeah, well, I think, to be honest, both. It's hard to know because it's hard to know where they get their data from. But in my opinion, and by what I'm taking as their metrics, it shouldn't be banned. Like, it should just be left unbanned. It's not in the top 3 best decks. I would say Mono Blue Terror, Jund Wildfire, Madness or Rakdos Burn, even probably Fae, and probably a Spy. It depends how you group Spy, but I would put all of those above High Tide. You could argue for it to be in the top 5, but it's definitely not in the top 3. Even like percentage wise on like top 8 and Goldfish and stuff, it's well outside the top 5. So by those metrics, it should be fine. And in my opinion as well, I think it is fine. It's something different for the format. It gives people who like a spell combo deck somewhere to go, because they basically don't have anywhere like that. There isn't another deck like High Tide. It's very unique in that aspect. and it's not dominating the format. Like, it's consistently like 1 in a challenge top 8, and that's basically it. So yeah, I think it's fine. I think it'd be a shame if it ended up banned again.
So I'm definitely on my thought pro. I'm definitely indifferent if they do ban it or unban it. I actually, because it's not my kind of deck, so I'm never going to care that much. I don't think it's oppressive. I don't think it's that bad or anything like that to play. But going off on their metrics, I do agree. It's definitely not the top 3. You could argue potentially it's top 5, depending on, as you say, where they get the data from. Which, if they take that 1 of 3 most successful decks to a literal like 1 of 3, sure. If the kind of meant it's up there as one of the better decks, I could see potentially stretching it. And I personally, if they give that metric, I don't actually care that much personally, but I do agree with you. It's not bannable because it is different. It's different. There's no deck that has all spells. Like, obviously, the spell-based decks nowadays are flicker-based decks that are getting value off Archaeomancer and all that sort of stuff, and they're not doing what High Tide's doing. So it is something different. Yeah, I don't think there's... And I personally would probably lean towards keep it unbanned, to be honest. Like, I also don't think there's going to be cards in general anyways that would make it more than what it is now as well. Like, they would have to print some really powerful either draw spell or really powerful untapped land spell, which again, I think we're far away from now. Like, I think they don't generally do that.
Yeah, I think we're past the days of cards like that really getting printed. Obviously, the vast majority of those cards that are legal in Pauper are just banned anyway, and wouldn't be coming off. Even if High Tide was rebanned, those cards aren't coming off, like Cloud of Fairies and Peregrine Drake and Research aren't coming off the ban list because they're just broken with too many things.
Spoilers? You're giving spoilers for our pod?
But yeah, I think High Tide's fine. I think it should stay. It's by the metrics that they've given there, it should stay. But my only worry is I feel like they will take, or it's not fun to play against, into account, which just should not really be a metric because it's personal preference.
Yeah, I think this is kind of the only reason why we kind of want to touch on this bit is sort of like the player pattern aspect, right? So for their metrics of what they've give to ban it, it doesn't really for us meet that metric, so therefore it should stay unbanned. But there has been arguments for player patterns, and they did, right? I didn't pull up the article, which I have. I think they did pull up that they extended it, and did they talk about like miserable to play or something like that? I'm sure they did mention that in like the update article where Prophetic Prism was officially unbanned. And it isn't a good metric to start with, right? There's metrics of, say, for example, like top, like Sensei's top in Legacy. In that sense, like turns were taking a long time. It was miserable for tournament play because every turn was going to time and all that sort of stuff. That is different to player patterns and play experiences, because if that's the case, then obviously the argument that we had at Jund Wildfire at the previous one, so Jund Wildfire should be banned because every other Jund Wildfire person was against all of the Jund Wildfire person and they're all drawing, and most of the times we got to turns. So if that, do you know what I mean? If that's the argument, like that's different to player patterns. Like having you sit there for 20 minutes because your opponent's taking legal game actions to actually win the game and going, well, that's not fun to play, is it? Well, I
think generally, like, they're not even that long anyway. Like, it's not like top where every turn there's an interaction point. Like, High Tide is very, very quick turns until it has one big turn.
Yeah.
And even that big turn is like, it's not that bad. Whereas, like, in the past, it's been like the top example's perfect, where it drags every turn on longer and longer. It just adds interactions every turn. And the one big turn as well, like, they're probably winning. So if you're going into turns, they can actually win. Whereas all these other, like, slow, more mid-range decks are just going into turns and drawing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I think the problem is, for me, right, is player patterns and it's not fun to play against or whatever is such a slippery slope to open up.
Yeah. Yeah, very.
So at that point, to me, you need to then have a sort of, if you're having a not fun to play plus High Tide needs banned, you now need this sort of, this is the meta game share of this deck. This is the play pattern that's considered unfun. Once those two meet for any deck, why is every deck not like that, not banned? So, like, if FAMS all of a sudden becomes a really good deck, and it becomes this % of the meta share, does that mean that needs banned? Because it's not fun to play against, sitting there for so many turns, being ephemerate, looped out of the game or whatever. Same with Cycle Storm, that has long turns. Like, you just falling down this slippery slope of, like, unique decks, I think. And I think that's a problem to open up. So, and we're not, obviously, I think that's, for me, the big difference. Like, if they do decide to ban it, I really do hope they basically stretch out that top 3 to say, look, we considered it through data, it's maybe top 4, top 5. That, I don't have a problem with that if that's what their metrics is. Obviously, we don't have access to the data. It's done quite well over the past few weeks. It had a couple in it, like pretty much most top 8s that we've covered for the past 2 or 3 weeks. It's shown up a lot more than it has done at the start, which makes sense because people are getting better with the deck, people are refining the deck. It will genuinely get better that way. So I have no problem if that is the reason it does go, but play patterns and play experience is a completely different ball game that I definitely don't want to open up that can of worms at all, for sure. More excitingly though, so we're going to sort of go through the ban list, because we think, obviously, as mentioned earlier, that we think that the trials was such a great success. We want to talk about some cards that either, maybe not necessarily we think, but there's food for thought in there definitely that they could be unbanned. Like, why can't we trial them? Because if High Tide gets banned and it was still considered a major success, why can't we ban something a bit more risky anyways? Worst case scenario, it gets rebanned, to me. So, obviously, we're gonna name the cards that, like, we'll then fly through the cards. There's some that obviously recently banned that we'll sort of not really talk about. Like, obviously, Broodskale, Deadly Dispute, Kuldotha was just banned. There's no point in talking about them. Swift Spear, again. And then we'll lightly touch on cards that aren't, we think will never be unbanned, and then probably the main discussion point, I think. Yeah, so starting off, literally, as I said, the ones that were recently banned, Broodskale, Deadly Dispute, Rebirth, was all recently unbanned, so they will, let's be honest, there's no point in trialing them. We've just moved out of that format. Swift Spear is the same. All That Glitters will sort of, I'll maybe group that together with the other stuff. We'll talk about that in a bit. The stuff that we sort of consider that'll never be unbanned for us, first of all, is the Initiative. That's all of them. I think
that's an easy one.
Yeah, just Initiative, just blanket them all. We have Arkham's Astrolabe as well. Card also looks weird when you're talking about these other cards, as we sort of alluded to, but it's surprising how much a 1-mana Prophetic Prism is just obnoxious. A Tog is another one that's probably just never been unbanned, never going to get unbanned. Card's very strong. Anything with Storm on, basically. Chatterstorm, Empty the Warrens, Grapeshot, Temporal Fissure, all pretty good. The Land Untappers, Cloud of Fairies, Frantic Search, Peregrine Drake. We have the free-ish spells, which is Probe, Gush, Treasure Cruise, and Daze, all pretty strong. We have the most annoying Monarch thing, Nocken, which was Fall from Favour. If you ever played in that format, Jesus Christ, that one gives me nightmares. I don't know why compared to the rest, but still. And then finally, oh no, not finally, there's Mystic Sanctuary, which is the Dwarven Mine land thing that returns a spell. And then there's Galvanic Relay and Cranial Plating as well, which are two cards that are very, very strong. Again, we'll sort of touch on Cranial Plating again later and group them up when we talk about the other cards. That leads us on to our first card, right? I guess. So, Bonder's Ornament is the first one that we think could be trialed to be unbanned.
I feel like this was in like the Prophetic Prism slot. Like it could have been this or Prism that was the first on trial.
I feel like this is a strange one for me, right? Because Bonder's Ornament, if anyone played in this format, it was so it was sort of like Astrolabe in the sense that it was so annoying because it was every single deck played it. Because if you didn't play it, you were at like a weird disadvantage. But at the time, Pauper's power level was definitely on the lower end.
I think the format in general is so much slower as well than it is now.
So like, every deck was definitely like mid-rangey control pile, and that wasn't out the ordinary. So I definitely think there's a world where Pauper has evolved past this, and I could definitely see it.
Yeah. I mean, it's the first place you put it is Tron, right? Tron's nowhere near a top 10 deck. I wouldn't even suggest. Like, it's a fine fringe deck.
Yeah.
We occasionally get like one in a top 16. But then, like, where are you fitting this card in the Tron list? Like, if they're already on Prism and Refractor, do you want to be cutting those cards to put this in, which is costs more and is slow to actually get going? Like, I don't know. I think that it's probably just now too slow for the format. The format is much faster than it used to be. And this just, to me, sort of looks a bit out of place on the ban list now.
Yeah, and I think, I guess that's one thing that we definitely haven't done for some people that haven't played this format or even heard this card. Bonder's Ornament is a 3-mana artifact that taps to add a mana of any one colour, and you can pay 4 and tap, and then it's each player who controls a permanent named Bonder's Ornament draws a card. So it's a 4-mana tap, draw a card, and then if your opponent has one, they draw a card as well. But the main thing about this is the format was really slow, and it came down to, a lot of the time, who found Bonder's Ornament. So if you found Bonder's Ornament and your opponent didn't, you were drawing a card, and they weren't. And then eventually when they found it, they were so far behind from the original Bonder's Ornament that they're still drawing, but they're making you draw because they have a Bonder's Ornament and they're activating. And it sort of come down about this, like, can you remove Bonder's Ornament, not remove Bond? And it was like all this sort of thing going on. And that was all the game came down to. Obviously, card advantage now is like Deadly Dispute. We've got Thoughtcast. We've got, well, not Deadly Dispute as per but Deadly Dispute effects. Thoughtcast. We've got Mass Draw. We've got Monarch. All this sort of stuff like that. I think the draw might be too good and this might be too slow. I also think the aggro decks were a lot worse as well.
Even in the Tron list that this will go in, where they're just using Ghostly Flicker and Prophetic Prism or Cryogen Relic. Like, that's a much better draw than Bonder's Ornament. Yeah.
It is a strange one. Like, I could definitely see this. It's just, like, I would not be surprised if they put this on an unbanned list and it literally did come down to this in a lot of control decks. Like, I would not be surprised by that because it obviously is just a card that stays in play and draws cards for an eternity. But I do think what more likely will happen is that it just probably is not about this card anymore.
Yeah.
And even without this card, you can outgrind your opponent, for sure.
Yeah.
So that, to me, definitely makes it an interesting one.
I think especially even in the control list that we've got at the moment, it doesn't just automatically fit in them either. Like, Demia Terra doesn't want this. Like, it doesn't want to be doing this. Scred, like, doesn't really want to be doing this. It doesn't work with anything it does. Obviously, it goes in Tron, but does it go in Tron anymore? Like, is it better than the cards that you've now already got with Prophetic Prism back and Cryogen Relic just released? Like, Gardens, I guess it probably fits quite nicely in Gardens. What else? Corgate. It's not really doing what Corgate wants to do either. Like, none of the control decks that are about at the moment, like, can use it. I guess there's like, if you're playing a Wildfire pile, maybe it works.
I think one thing that sticks out of me as well, which is quite interesting, is these like some sort of mid-range deck, it does actually become like a card advantage sideboard card. So, like, for example, if you want to stall the board, like Jund Wildfire or Red-Green Ramp, for example, you just play this and just use it as card draw in Green-Red Ramp. To me, that sounds exciting. Like, because Green-Red Ramp does not have good card advantage. And if this is what it comes down to, like, I'd take 4 mana, draw an extra card a turn when you're stalling the board.
Yeah, and I guess building off that, if decks like Wildfire are playing it, I guess it sort of becomes a bit of a liability because it now just gets hit by the artifact removal that they're already bringing in against you.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to be playing more artifacts against the deck that's bringing in Dust to Dust or the Glamours or whatever?
Yeah. So I definitely wouldn't be surprised if the format has evolved past this card, for sure. Which again makes it interesting and worth trialing. The next one. Do you want me to? Or do you want to go?
Yeah, go for it.
So the next one we have down here is Sojourner's Companion, which is probably more of a controversial one. Which, for those that don't know what that is, where it is
it's Mer Enforcer.
Yes, it's Mer Enforcer with artifact land cycling. So it's a 7-mana 4/4 artifact creature salamander, affinity for artifacts, artifact land cycle, which sort of isn't irrelevant. But yeah, you can effectively search for your bridges if it needs to, but it is a 0-mana 4/4. I'd be a bit more dubious on this card, and I'd probably say
I am not on board with this one at all.
But the argument and talking point I have here is basically that Mer Enforcer or Affinity is probably the worst it's ever been in a long time. So does that make it worthwhile playing a 0-mana having 8 0-mana 4/4s? It probably makes it very good, as it makes it super aggressive. You can then just basically go down very aggressive routes of Grixis Affinity or whatever colour Affinity, and you're more just, I'm going to splurge a bunch of 4/4s and you are not going to have time to do anything. And it could definitely come down to that, for sure. But I do think that the artifact here is definitely there. The threats can also maybe compete with it a bit more. Obviously, you've got Riven Chrysalis and 5/5s and stuff like that now. So I don't think this is as free as I would say Bonder's Ornament, but I definitely wouldn't say it's not for consideration for me.
Its problem is that it is free. That's the issue. It's a 0-mana 4/4.
So
yeah, it's a tough one because you say Affinity is the worst it's been, but that isn't really saying that much because it's like the 5th best deck instead of the best deck.
I probably wouldn't put it, to me, I'd probably put it as an okay choice. Like,
yeah,
Affinity,
it's still like in the top 5 most played decks on like across top 8 and Goldfish and stuff like that though. Like it's not really dropped off. It's dropped off from challenge top 8s. It's not as consistently top 8. But just giving it 4 more Mer Enforcers will probably fix that problem.
Oh yeah, for sure. And obviously to me the main thing is they've spent so much time balancing Affinity. Like, Affinity would receive 2, like, at one point Affinity got a ban and was like, okay, it's still the best deck. And then it was Affinity got a ban, okay, it was still the best deck. I think it took like 5 bans. Obviously you've got a Tog, you've got Companion, you've got Disciple, you know. Like, these cards are all Deadly Dispute as well also hit Affinity, like, and this was literally Deadly Dispute was probably the nail in the coffin that made it from tier 1 to where it is now. So do you want to after all that effort flip it on its head? Probably not. But considering the other options, I don't think this is so, like, obviously this would more likely to me be unbanned than a Tog. Is where I would put.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like, and
but I don't think that's a good comparison either.
Of course it's not. But it's still, I just think it's probably food for thought more than let's trial unban this. But I could definitely see it in the future if it carries on being where it's at, I would say. Like, if other decks get better and Affinity just stays the same, I could maybe see it.
I think that the problem you have with Affinity is it's always going to get tools. Because artifacts are just something that they put in every set at every rarity. And the sort of the stickers for the deck are the 0-mana cards, or the cards with Affinity that you can get to cost 0 are the ones that don't get added often. Like you've seen with like Cryogen Relic and Ica Wellspring and Prophetic Prism, like the 2-mana draw card, it doesn't matter, it's got plenty of them, it can just switch between them.
Yeah.
But Mer Enforcer is not a replaceable card. Like, you have 4 Mer Enforcers, you can't replace it with anything. Whereas this now just gives you 8 Mer Enforcers.
Yep.
It's like if they just printed Galblast. If there was just a reprint of Galblast Affinity, it would just then be the best deck again, probably, because it can play 8 Galblasts. It's like the irreplaceable effect.
Moving on.
Yeah. I think these two probably just go together. As they both cost the same mana, they're both the same spell type, and they both probably would go in the same deck if they got unbanned. It's Sinkhole and Hymn to Turak. For anyone who doesn't know, Sinkhole is double black for a sorcery that destroys a land, and Hymn to Turak is double black for a sorcery that makes a player discard 2 cards at random. Mono black is not a good deck at the moment, and it hasn't been a good deck for a very long time. These are 2 extremely powerful commons. But the cost is like pretty prohibitive. Like, it basically only goes in mono black. You could put them, I guess you could maybe like start putting hymns in something like blue black terror, but it's definitely not free in that deck.
Very much so. I guess it's an interesting one for me, because mono black as we think of mono black, right, doesn't exist. Like actual mono black. Like mono black is now basically Gardens, right, is the closest you're getting, where it's like black with a slight green splash. And something like that it's still not free, right? You're playing Gardens, so it's not completely free. And it's like, these cards are very good, but it's like, how does this come out at the end? Like, do you mean, is it worthwhile bringing in the format? Like, does it add anything? Because they do make for uninteresting games, right?
Yeah, they can do. Sinkhole is a weird one, especially now, because obviously it's never really been legal. And now we have a combo deck that relies on having a bunch of islands in play. Urzatron decks. No mono black deck at all. We already have a deck that's really good and destroys lands as its main game plan. So, like, is Sinkhole that bad? Like, there's also artifact lands that are indestructible, so it does nothing against. Like, if you're against Jump Wildfire and go turn 1 tap land, like, what's your Sinkhole doing?
I do agree. I do think the power level is probably there to add it to the format, which I do think, because like it's not that much better, right, than the 3 mana ones that we've already got in black. Like, as you say, black doesn't exist generally. My main thing is it's like, obviously it's a hard one to. You've already got this stuff. It's like, do you want to add a better one in, and does it add much to the format? Is the main, and that was their main sticking point when they talked about it originally, right? But
yeah,
and I think it's probably worthwhile. You could easily trial this and just see.
I think it's different as well enough with it being black. Like, it's a black card. It's not like you're unbanning a 2 red destroy a land or a 2 green destroy a land card that would just instantly go in Ponza and make the deck miles better. Sinkhole doesn't have a home, and it has the potential to make its own home, like make a new deck for itself. Which I think is the most interesting part of it. The same sort of goes for him. Although I think him probably has a worse like fun ratio attached to it. Like, the games where you just get turned to him, they're probably going to be less fun than the ones where you don't.
And I think that's the big one for me, is him, right? Obviously, like, they both have metrics that are known for obviously not being fun, where we've obviously talked about play patterns like further up with High Tide to not take into account, but it's more creating non-games, right? Like, obviously, as you say, Sinkhole is easily comparable because obviously Ponza exists and it's trying to turn 2 Ponza here, but they obviously don't have it's obviously a fine deck. It's not an option. Like, most often or not, people are just playing green-red ramp because the land destruction isn't good. Obviously, him's more likely to just create non-games, where it's not even about being fun. It's just, I keep this good hand on these 2 cards. Okay, I've randomly discarded them. Right, okay, I've lost. My land's gone.
But I think as well with how the format has developed, like, in sort of like modern history of Pauper, like the last 4 years, there's just so much. If you just got him at the start of the game, you would probably still be able to have a fine game because cards are just so much more powerful. Like you've got the like Reckoner's Bargains and stuff as card advantage. You've got Thoughtcast to draw you back into it. You could get him against Mono Blue Terror. They'll just discard 2 spells and then play a Terror against you. Like you have a lot more power than we used to in like old school Pauper. And I think as well, like after turn 2, both of these cards fall off pretty dramatically, which sort of leans again towards they would go in mono black, but they wouldn't really go in anything else. Because I think the biggest worry is if they unban them and then they just slot into Gemmed Wildfire, for example, or Blue-Black Terror. Like, you don't want these to go into already really good decks. You want them to give decks that aren't really good axes to fight on. Mono Black having 2 good tools against control decks and High Tide is pretty good. Like, I wouldn't knock that at all.
Yeah, it is an interesting one though, right? Because, like I say, it's like they don't really slot into anything, but you do have, like, obviously they might go in. Obviously, like the only mono black deck is in mono black sack. Probably not, but they could.
Yeah, they don't like, really make sense in that deck.
They're not fitting the synergy. But then, as you say about obviously we have more powerful cards and stuff. Like we do have more. We have more powerful cards that are just generically more powerful and decks that don't rely on synergy. But we still are quite a synergistic format where, like, obviously, like, for example, like going back to mono black sack, you could just discard the sack effect you were relying on, and the whole hand falls apart because you are synergy based. And there is other decks like that might cause that to be like non-games. But I personally think I'd sooner be on Sinkhole than him, but I also do think they are both very close to just trial them both. I probably would do one at a time as well.
I would just do both at once.
Yeah.
I think the mono black deck will show through if you do both. If you just do one, you'll maybe just won't see that happen. But yeah, I'd definitely rather trial both these than I would Sojourner's Companion, for example.
I think it's a weird one for me, right? Because obviously, like, say you trial Sinkhole first on its own and nothing happens and it's fine. Bonus, you've got Sinkhole in the format, and then I think the thing is as well, it kind of showcases if you drip feed them almost. It showcases where the issue lies more. Like if you unban both of them, it's just the deck. It's like okay, they're both back on the ban list. Yeah, because, do you know what I mean? And that's more the thing that the only reason why I'd do like single. But I do agree, like, to showcase the black deck, like this mono black deck that obviously could utilize both very well and all that sort of stuff. Like, it could be like mono black Ponza that ran Vicious Battle Rager, right? Like with the Devotion land or the Depletion land. Like, it could be something like that. And then it uses like Thorn or Gurmag to close the game after blowing your lands up, making discard, all that sort of stuff. It could be anything like that. And that sort of deck will showcase once both are through, but you'll get to see if the problem. So, I think... But yeah, it's definitely interesting, right? The power levels are there, and I think the formats surpass the power level, but it's like, are they adding enough? Maybe?
And
like,
there's so many answers as well for them now, like Spell Pierce. Like, if you're just on the draw and the play... Even if you're on the play and they're just playing Island, like, are you just going to him into Untapped Island? Like... And people are even playing envelopes and stuff in the sideboards now as well. Like, again, if they just go Island Pass, are you hemming into that? Are you Sinkholing into that? If they just Spell Pierce you, well, you've just done nothing with your turn 2. I think the format could really support both these cards pretty well. I think out of the ones we've talked about, or the ones we will talk about, these two are I guess Bonder's Ornament's sort of a free one, but these two are the ones I'd like to see the most.
Moving on to Cloudpost.
Yeah, so, this one's loose.
So, Cloudpost is, for those that don't know, is a land, and Cloudpost is a locust, a land locust, and Cloudpost comes into play tapped, and then it adds 1 colorless mana for each locust in play. So, the idea is that obviously it's been around. It has existed in Pauper, right?
A long time ago. Yeah.
A long time ago.
It was banned in 2013, so it's been banned for 12 years.
Obviously, they are effectively, the idea is very similar to Tron from memory. And it was blue based, was the last time it was played, right? And it was basically just
blue
this, like,
blue red.
And it was like this, obviously, this just ramp control-y combo deck that basically utilised Cloudpost, playing Glimmerpost as well as another land. That's also Locust. And then the Cloudposts just end up tapping for like 4, 5, 6 mana or whatever stupidly number they are. Which is pretty, all round I'd say pretty interesting. Right? I've played this in the like best deck Pauper series, or I was playing this deck for the best deck Pauper series, and the unbanned, no ban list Pauper as well. I've tried it before. And when it gets to do its thing, it is very, very good. Obviously, I've played it in formats where both Cloud Fairies and Frantic Surge and all that was legal to play, and it felt nuts in that instance. But you also don't necessarily have those. And for me, like something like Flickertron as well, like it has a lot of the power in, say, for example, like Ghostly Flicker loops at the moment. He's like, Ghostly Flicker my Urza's Tower and something else, return the Ghostly Flicker, and you get your 3 mana back. Obviously, you don't have access to do that with Cloudpost because the land always comes in tapped. So it is an like, it's, again, though, another thought is, does it really add much? Because you've now got Cloudpost and Tron. Like, you're obviously most likely not playing both, but you've already got this thing. It's like, is it adding much? Is it making a new deck?
I think if it unbans, it definitely makes a new deck or an old deck. There's not really that much missing from the old Cloudpost deck that got banned. If you unban Cloudpost, it's basically only Temporal Fissure, which I don't think will ever be unbanned, and Cloud of Fairies, which I also don't think will ever be unbanned. Other than that, everything else in that deck would still be playable. And I don't know. It's just a very, very strong deck. It doesn't die to aggro decks because your lands gain life and you play Ghostly Flicker, so you just flicker your lands and gain more life. So it's basically Tron that has infinite time against aggro decks by just playing its lands. And the way Cloudposts scale with each other are just like surpass Tron very quickly. Like if you've got 2 Cloudposts and a Glimmerpost, like that's Tron. But then if you add another Glimmerpost, it just like goes bananas. Like you have 10 instead of 9, and then if you add another Cloudpost, it just goes off the charts. Like we do only have 8, but even when it was banned, we only had 8. So I don't know if that's like a much of a sticking point. I guess it depends basically if they want another big mana lands deck to exist, because it just would.
It's a weird one, right? Because it's not. It wouldn't necessarily. I wouldn't say it's also like another. I think basically all this would do is just replace Flickertron, but it's obviously just better. And it's like, is that boost enough of like in a roundabout way? Obviously, they won't play the exact same cards, but they'll be similar. I would say, to the point where it's like, is this a significant enough unban to basically make it one of the best decks? Maybe, most likely.
Yeah, I think Tron sort of has other benefits alongside it, so it probably wouldn't just erase Tron. But yeah, I think it must have a good reason. It would probably just be better than Tron.
But it's then like, is being better than Tron? Is it going to be that much better than Tron that it's a problem? That's the thing that obviously we would know. It might be, most likely could be, but it could also do what obviously, we're going to unban Prism, we have Energy Refractor, oh my god, this is going to absolutely blow up Flickertron, and then it turns out it's actually dead on its ass. It's actually not that good.
Yeah, I guess Refractor's a sort of addition that it didn't have previously. Obviously, it had Prophetic Prism. But just being able to add a bunch of blue at once was not really a thing it could do before.
Yeah. It is interesting. Again, it's probably not likely on the radar. It's probably not as likely as Bonder's Ornament and the other two. But it's
I think it's one I would be very wary of, Cloudburst.
But again, I feel like one of these things, it's like some of these cards could easily go one way and absolutely break the format, right? And if that's the case, just ban it again. If it could go one or the other way, right? It might be worthwhile trying. Like, there's a world where, like, hymn's just absolutely miserable to play and everyone's, like, playing hymn and everyone's getting hymned and there's loads of non-games. It's like, okay, ban it. It could also do nothing. Or very little. That's why I think these cards are, like, could go either way, that they're pretty interesting. Moving on?
Yeah, so the penultimate choice, I guess. Although it's sort of two choices because I'm a bit undecided on them. Is something that we've never actually got to play with, which is Cranial Ram. Obviously pre-banned before it was even released, as Pauper was coming up and they didn't want it to destroy Pauper. It's red and a black for an equipment that has living weapon. And it gives the equipped creature plus X+1, where X is the number of artifacts you control, and it costs 2 to equip. I feel like after Pauper they should have just unbanned it, just to see what would happen. It's obviously, like, relates to cranial plating. It is much worse than cranial plating, which is the reason that it's on this list. Cranial plating should never be unbanned because it costs no coloured mana, only costs 1 to equip instead of 2, and then has instant speed equip attached to it as well. So it's better than this in many, many ways. But I think Ram's an interesting one, like, basically because its casting cost is awkward and its equip cost isn't really free. It makes, like, the just one turn kill, I think, a bit harder to establish. Like, you have to have this probably in play already, and then move it onto something and not be interacted with.
Yeah, I don't know about this card. I'm very unsure. Like, I could probably see this being unbanned. Like, the thing is, it's very much like a halfway house between cranial plating and all that glitters, right? Is where I see this. Not given toughness like all that glitters is obviously worse. Putting a guy already on it is obviously better. Being an equipment like cranial plating is obviously really good, but it's like, how much better or what? Like, is it the worst out of the three to the point where this is probably fine? Maybe. The thing for me is it dies to a lot more removal because obviously it's not like all that glitters, but it makes a black germ. Don't know how relevant that is. Like, I'm just like spitball. I don't know. I don't know. I could see this still being too good, but again, the thing is we have nothing to base this off.
I think the biggest issue with this card is actually the other card that wasn't pre-banned, which is Refurb Familiar. I think either one without the other is fine, but I feel like if we have them both together, it probably would be too good.
I'd say that. I think my only thing with these, like, sort of modern designs like this, like Refurb and Riven Chrysalis and Cranial Ram, I can imagine this is basically just, right, do you see 3 Cranial Rams or a lot of Cranial Rams? Okay, that's probably too much. It's like how many games you lose because they've seen 3 Refurbs in the top 18 cards. Okay, you've now got 2 cards to work with, and do you know what I mean? It's like this is basically, I play a Cranial Ram, right? You've got to kill the germ. Okay, I play a Cranial Ram, you've got to kill the germ. Okay, I now equip these 2 to 2 different creatures. You've got to kill both of these creatures. It's an all that glitters that basically moves across the table, which forces you to have every creature be killed. I don't know.
Which leads to my actual point in putting this on the list. It was a Trojan horse for all the glitters. All the glitters is actually the one you should unban. Bring back all the glitters. I didn't hate all that glitters meta, right? Like, I really didn't. I didn't think it was that bad. But I understand the
and it sort of translates to Ram as well. It's like it forces you to have an early game removal spell, and if you don't, you die. Pretty much. Is sort of the idea. And that was like obviously a lot of the argument. And I can sort of get behind that. I don't know. It's like is it a non-game because the hand you kept doesn't beat Cranial Ram or all that glitters? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that sort of argument.
Ram is definitely too good.
Yeah.
It's just comedic that we have basically 3 cranial blitters on the ban list. All the glitters, I think, should probably just be trialed off again. It was banned probably when it maybe shouldn't have been banned anywhere, and then we immediately went into a format with Brood Scale where it would have been really nice to have all the glitters in the format as like a controlling factor that would maybe keep the Brood Scales in check. It goes a different route. With it being white, it doesn't just go in Grixis Affinity, so it has sort of a different like split off there. And it's sort of like you're digging for this one card. So if they have an answer for your one card, like it's quite punishing. So you can't just go, turn 2, play my guy, hit you, like now, because there's so much more removal in the format. Like every deck has an answer to that. Whereas maybe previously it was a lot more lightning bolt heavy. So if you landed it on your guy, it just wasn't going to die at bolt when Kuldotha was the best deck. So you had like time to get to that critical mass to actually kill them. Whereas now I think there's just like between Terror, Jund Wildfire and stuff like that, like there's just so much more other removal. Like you can Demon Fury, the guy that the glitters is on, and it answers the glitters, unlike Cranial Ram, for example.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. I'm just not sold. I wouldn't be surprised if the trial done ban all the glitters. Like I was like, okay, I do agree. It's made look comical more the fact that we went from all that glitters and that got banned straight into Brood Scale.
And Brood Scale was much worse than all the glitters.
And I do agree with that. And I would be interested to see what it is like now after obviously Modern Horizons 3 impact and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I think it always has the benefit as well that it will just make 2 new decks. Like it will just add 2 decks to the format. Grixis Affinity will still be a thing, but then you'll have Jeskai glitters and blue-white glitters. Maybe even more. Just return to the format. And then obviously it gives Bogles and Heroics that extra tool as well. Whereas Ram just goes in Grixis Affinity.
Yeah. Totally fair. Do you want to cover the last one, or is that a no-go, or is it just a mute point?
Yeah, so, well, I guess it's just sort of an add-on of the stuff that's banned from Affinity is Disciple of the Vault, which is single black for a 1/1. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard, you have target opponent. I believe it targets lose 1 life. There's no ATOG anymore, so it's a 1-mana 1/1 that's sometimes good with makeshift munitions.
Does it work? It works with Crackland, right? As well.
Yeah.
It stacks with Crackland, right?
Yeah. But
you've still got
again, Crackland is...
Yeah, it's not the same buff. ATOG and Disciple obviously was basically every artifact was +3.
Yeah.
Obviously it's not the same, but you still have the mass sack of, as you say, makeshift and Crackland. But it's more just a lot of big burst out of nowhere, right? It's just, I'll play a couple of Marin Forces, I'll chip you maybe once or twice, I'll Galv Blast you, I'll play Disciple, play Crackland, I'll sack my board and you'll die. Sort of thing is the idea, right?
Yeah, it's definitely the thing that keeps it from being unbanned, because it is just not really a value card. It just looks like a bit of a weirdo on the list, I guess, next to all the other powerful things, and he's a 1-mana 1/1.
Yeah, which is pretty funny, for sure. But I think the main thing for us, obviously, the cards to consider here are obviously Bondazon and Sinkhole and Hymn to Turak are the main 3.
And all the glitters. And
then Reese is sold on all that glitters. I'm not sold, but I could definitely see it for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the Grixis Affinity tools, like, although the deck's not the best right now, I feel like it's just too much of a risk to add them back in with Cranial Ram, Disciple, and Companion. And then Cloud Post is, as we said, does it add enough? Does it just remove Tron? But the main thing, I guess, the main takeaway from this is we have this trial system now, so we should probably just use it. Like, just if the high tide decision's made in 3 weeks or whatever, just unban something else as well. Unban Bonders Ornament, see what happens.
Yeah. I am definitely all for this. I think, basically exactly that. The trial system works. We may as well use it. Basically stress tests the ban list, right? And that's fine. Obviously, it doesn't have to be so long. Like, they can find a window to have it, literally once a Pauper game's finished, right, make an announcement. There you go. 2 weeks, 3 weeks before the next one, bang, okay, the trial's up. Is it staying or is it going? Easy as that, really. Said so simply. Obviously, this segment is getting quite long. Just want to highlight very quickly another way to do it, potentially. We could also do this for, like, trial bans, which was more of a thought while I was sort of typing up the notes. And the main reason is basically, my two main reasons are, one, it gives a really good way to communicate to the community, because it shows you what you're thinking. Obviously, it's on trial, etc. But two, it also gives the PFP data. We've already been shown that they have access to Magic Online data and all that sort of stuff. It could be implemented in about 15 different ways, to me, in my head. You could implement it the same way that you do in the unbans. You could literally just write, okay, this card's trial banned, we'll let you know. It's sort of like the suspension system they have in Arena, where they sort of like half ban a card, and it's like, we'll review it in a year, and then it basically just stays on the ban list forever. Not really to that sort of vein, but you can even just go, right, okay, I'm going to implement this on Magic Online. There's now a specialty system. This is the banned format, whatever. There you go. Everyone wants to test it out. If you don't like, I don't know, Refurb Familiar's banned for the next 3 weeks, go play in this league. Go nuts. Try it out. See what happens. And that was sort of the idea. It basically gives two things. One, data for PFP before taking any serious action. It also gives communication, because then you're like, oh, okay, that's actually now on the radar. The other thing you could do as well, like I'm less excited on this, by the way, this was just me spitballing. You could even have a way to vote. Like, okay, I want this card banned, and then once a card reaches this many votes, like, it could be you type a card in. You could have, I don't know. Obviously, that's probably going to be abused, but still, it was just an idea as a way to the community to communicate back to the PFP. But all round, the idea is it communicate and data is getting got.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of either of those. I think that the voting one is just everything online is just going to be negative, so it's not even worth.
Yeah.
And then the trial bans, I feel like the PFP have enough data and are good enough at their job that they probably don't need this. Like, we should just trust them that they're trying to make the best decision for the format. If they ban something and then the format turns to shit, like, they can just unban it anyway. So why do they need to trial it?
I think the main thing is
it's not like they're making like snap decisions either. They're spending like a lot of time.
I'm not disagreeing with that, but it also lets them, as I say, like, you could do it as a separate thing. Like, it could literally just be Magic Online only, and it has like a game mode tab, like things that are on for short windows, and it just gives them data.
But does anyone play that over normal Pauper? Do you not just then reduce the people playing the actual events?
No idea. Like, because it could literally just be a league. It didn't have to be like a full-blown system or anything. Like, so leagues only need, 12, 30 people to play to fire? Like,
but even then, you get skewed results because it's only the people who play Magic Online and only the people that have any incentive to play this like banned format. So you're basically only getting really, really super enfranchised people and the data from those people, rather than just an overall view.
Yeah, for sure. But I think it's not all negatives, right? I do think there is some positives that obviously trialing cards to be banned, to even showcase, like I said, data sets for, all right, okay, we think this card's bad, okay, but it's made the format probably worse because of X, Y, and Z, okay, we now know it's not good. Because there is unknowns.
But you could just say, if we ban something and the format gets worse, we'll just unban it.
Yeah,
and I think that's sort of the same result.
I think the thing is though, there is loops that they've obviously got to jump through to ban and unban cards. Like the only card that they've done this so soon with, right, was Map when they took over. And that was the only card that went right. The last one was banned, and then as soon as they come in, it was like, okay, it's now unbanned because it was a silly decision from whatever, like, what's his decision or whatever it was. I just think, I don't know, like, it's not necessarily all negatives for that. Like, you could easily trial it for shorter periods of time, I think. I don't know. And again, it's not as easy as trial unbans for sure, because obviously you've got cards that haven't been played for years, formats have changed, etc., all that sort of stuff. It's easily not as, okay, let's just hit a dartboard and pick a random card to ban. But I don't know. And I'm not saying there was anything that would be trial banned now either, but it's more just as a way to, is the format better without this card? Maybe.
Yeah. I also think though, if you're looking at it like, maybe the format would be better without this card, if you get to that point, you're probably just right that the format will be better without this card. If a card's like that egregious, that you need to consider banning it, you should probably just ban it anyway. Yeah,
I do think though,
like I feel like there's very few things where you'd be like, this is fine, but if we ban it, it might be better. Like,
yeah, that might be
sort of a weird way to look at the format.
Yeah, I do generally. I think like there isn't any cards that spring to mind. Like, okay, this card's like, would it be better without this format? Would it be better not in this format? But it is obviously another way to use this trial system to sort of get even any amount of information from. I don't know if that's worth it or not. Who knows? But I still think it's worth a consideration. Probably not even mentioned from PFP, but it's definitely another idea in the toolbox. Would that be the word to use? Yeah. Anything else to add on our Pauper thought of the week?
Just that I hope they continue to use this trial unban system.
Yeah.
It's been cool to see High Tide come off and be able to be played in Pauper for once. Like, even if it ends up banned again, like, we've at least seen what would happen if it was legal.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully they continue to use that.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, even if it's very here and there. Like, obviously, I don't think it should be, right, okay, we've went to the next one. And I think it should obviously eventually get spaced out over time, I would say. Like, as in, they don't have to go, right, okay, this is on trial. Okay, it's passed or failed the trial, right, this is now on trial. Like, I don't think it has to necessarily be like that, but they can still use it at points of lull or whatever, which is pretty cool. It's just a cool thing to have access to, for sure. So just some couple of housekeeping if you've got this far, because we're almost an hour into the podcast. Don't forget to join our Discord. Obviously, there's card market credits and play points to be given away. Obviously, the next one will be in a couple of weeks. And don't forget to join the Discord to submit your hot takes or even your Pauper thoughts as well to be entered into the giveaway. Just some high-level tournaments. I am just going to go dates and stuff. So 20th of September, Labryrinthe, Chislehurst, 64-player Pauper event. Link in the description. All the links will be in the description as well. On the 18th of October 2025, why did I say 2025? London Pauper Showdown, the dreaded return. The 25th of October in Leipzig, 128-player Pauper event. Germany's biggest Pauper event. Excited to see that one. There is Pauper Spezl 2 in Munich on the 22nd of November. 64-player cap as well. Signed cards in the prize pool. And then finally, the big one, Nationals, 29th of November. If you're in a league and registered for a buy and all that sort of stuff, contact your TO for the code and all that sort of stuff. The final thing, obviously, to mention is the public sale tickets has been moved back. And that is to Monday, the 29th of September. It's been moved back a week due to various reasons. So keep that in mind and just telling the world so you all don't try and get your public tickets next week. So we're just going to high level go over the challenges, which is quite lucky because it's not very exciting. Our first segment was more exciting, so if you skip to this bit, just to let you know, go back and listen to that bit. That bit's more exciting.
There's some pretty low turnouts, to be fair, and not particularly interesting. Like, there's a few bits that I'll pull, but for the most part, they're fairly bog standard.
Just to go on wild low count, the Pauper thing, Magic Online sort of has stopped being the Championship Series thing, so it's not part of MOX. So this is probably one of the reasons. And there was also, I believe there was quite a few big Pauper events like Katowice and stuff like that at the weekend as well. Sorry, carry on.
So the first one, which is the Friday the 12th, 44 players. First place was Jund Wildfire. Second, third, and fourth were all Mono Blue Terror. Fifth was Rally Red. Sixth was Blue Black Terror. Seventh was Mono Blue Fair. And eighth was Boros Moxite. And then the two near misses, ninth was Gardens, and 10th was Elves. Yeah, I guess Terror be the best deck by far.
Yeah.
None of them were running anything particularly interesting. They were all just sort of around the same numbers. A few tweaks in the sideboards. One had 2 Piracy Charms in the sideboards just for the crack, I guess.
Wow.
Give you Terror Island Walk against the Mirror. Maybe. But the more interesting side of it, the 6th place Blue Black Terror was Weber. So it was good to see the PFP repping. And it was quite an interesting Blue Black Terror list because it doesn't run Snacker, it doesn't run the Modern Age, it doesn't run Gurmag Angler, and it doesn't run Cryptic Serpent. So like the 4 like prongs that we used to see in Blue Black fit in, it just fits in none of them. And it looks more just like a Blue Black control list, I guess, with 4 terrors in, or even somewhat similar to like Blue Black Fair, but then just with terrors instead of the Fair, which is quite cool. It doesn't run any of the like turbo like Thought Scour cards. It just runs 3 Considers as the fill your graveyard cards. And the rest is just eventually I will get to Terror. I guess it maybe fits in like it's like blue-red Scred, but blue-black instead. Yeah.
I was going to say it's sort of like, it looks like to me, you know, like the blue-black control that was like Modern Age, Sneaky Snacker, and Spellstutter Sprite. And it was like kind of using that Murmur Mystic as endgame, but with that snackery stuff. It's like that, but they've just got rid of that chaff and just put in Terror. Is how I'm like seeing it, but I think you're right. I think you're more right. And it literally used like blue-red Scred, but with black instead of red.
Yeah. Threat-wise, it's got 4 terrors, then 2 thorns, and 3 Murmur Mystics. So no augurs, no little guys, just full on. Basically, every creature is a threat, essentially. The black spells, it's just for cast down, snuff out. There's 2 unexpected fangs and 1 fumes. Oh, and 1 agony warp, I guess, just because in case Colgate's is a thing ever again.
Hey, top 8 last week. You never know.
Yeah. But then, yeah, just the usual 4 Brainstorm, 4 Lorien, 4 Ponder, 4 Counterspell. All the good blue stuff. Sideboard is the standard blue-black sideboard of I'll
Here's a
just
bunch
put
of
one of everything and no hope it's the correct number. Nothing particularly stand out. I guess there's the Last Rites, which is probably for High Tide. Other than that, yeah, just cool to see another take on blue-black.
Pretty sweet.
Just above that with the Rally Red list, I'm only mentioning this because it basically looks like Kuldotha without Kuldotha because it's Rally Red that is now running 4 synths. So just like tending back towards that Kuldotha space. There's no Chain Lightnings, still 4 Galblast, 4 Bolts, 1 Fire Blast is the burn. 5 of the Reckless Impulse effects, and then 4 synths and 4 rallies alongside the usual creature package. So pretty cool to see that come back.
Pretty sad the Gingerbread's not there. Do love the Gingerbread.
It's the easiest thing to cut. And then I guess the last deck as the Elves list is pretty bog standard. The Boros Moxite, which is a card that we pulled from Edge of Eternities and said this could be really good in like a Boros Synth type shell.
Yeah.
And this is basically what that is. It's Boros Synth, but with 4 Moxites and 4 Sneaky Snackers.
That's all you need,
and
really.
And no Synth. No Synth.
It literally does. It's like even the artifact stuff is like exactly like Boros Synth, but they've just cut the Synth for the Moxite, right? Like they would even run a main deck Relic here in there. But which is pretty sweet.
I guess the only real standout is there's maybe less 1-mana creatures because there's only 3 Thrabans. I'm assuming that's to make space for the Sneaky Snackers.
Yep. Interestingly enough, like as we mentioned, there's not that much to like discard, right? Because there's only Snackers and 1 Faithless Luton. That sort of gives you some advantage, right? But they've also then got 6 sort of melded mock sites. So they've got 2 bitter reunions as well as 4 melded mock sites. Which is really interesting way to do it.
Yeah, no battle screeches, no prismatic strands, bar 1 in the sideboard. And then yes, like you said, there's 2 reunions, 4 mock sites, and a Luton. But basically, you're just looking to discard the Sneaky Snackers and not much else. Which might be fine. Like Sneaky Snacker is a pretty good aggressive game plan in a deck like this.
Yeah.
And you can churn through. It's a lot of card advantage to find more Snackers. But I just wonder if at some point you're just going to be either not wanting to play your mock sites or reunions, or having to discard something suboptimal because you basically have nothing to discard.
Yeah. It is an odd one. For sure. Like we did talk about it obviously at the start. Like you can obviously bounce a Snacker, but it's just not good. Right? It's just not.
Yeah, if you have to Skyfish or a Snacker to then play your mock site to rediscard the Snacker, you're sort of going backwards a bit.
Yeah. Like, yeah. You get like a 2-3 out the exchange, but it's like, that's not what Skyfish is about. Like Skyfish
You'd probably rather just play the mock site, discard something, and then pick the mock site back up.
Yeah, exactly. It's such a strange one for sure. Maybe this deck probably needs more discard payoffs, maybe, but yeah, it's definitely interesting.
I don't know. I guess it's a weird one because there's not that many discard payoffs because you've only got the Snackers, but there's also not really that many discard like cards. There's the 4 mock sites, the 2 bitter reunions, and a Faithless. Obviously, you are cycling the mock sites a lot with the Skyfishes and the Glinthawks. I don't know if that's enough to support like Fiery Temper instead of Bolt, maybe, or alongside it as.
Yeah, I imagine
it's a weird one.
I imagine you just end up getting flooded a lot and just pitching your lands is probably how this ends up. But pretty sweet to see. Obviously the mono red mock site deck's been doing some rounds in leagues. Obviously I played it like week 1 as well. Like it is basically just like mono red madness, but with mock site in, which is pretty interesting, but can support like Galv Blast because of it. Because it runs like Tomb Raider and like an artifact package and stuff, which is pretty sweet. But it's just even sweeter to just see more mock site decks. Because we always thought that this card had potential, especially being able to be Glinthawked, for sure.
Moving on to the Saturday, the 13th challenge. Only 39 players, so once again, low numbers. First place was Mono Blue Terror. Second place was Mono Blue Fair. And this time, 3rd, 4th, and 5th are all copies of Jund Wildfire. 6th is Gardens, 7th is another copy of Mono Blue Terror, and 8th is High Tide. Then the 2 near misses, 9th is a 3rd copy of Mono Blue Terror, and 10th is a 2nd copy of Gardens. Yeah, very much a Jund Wildfire Mono Blue Terror fight for who's the best this week.
So moving on to the Sunday challenge.
I think, to be fair, like, you're not far off. I feel like there was something interesting I'd seen in this one.
Was it the...
it might have been the next one.
Was it the Fair deck, right? Was that not the...
Yeah, I think was that the next one?
Yeah, it probably was the next one.
Terror's Terrorin, Fair's Fairn. It's got two Galeblades, 2 Harry Strixes, which seems to be the split that we see. If they're playing either, it seems to be a 2-2 split.
Yeah, I think it's a Bath take, right? Is pretty much on that.
Yeah. The Jund Wildfires seem to have no consensus between them, which is what Jund Wildfire usually does. They're always all over the place. The 3rd place is just sort of a regular Jund Wildfire. The 4th place is the Infiltrator build, and the 5th place is the Infiltrator build, but with more Infiltrators and other stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, Yeah, even like the gardens isn't particularly interesting. So yeah, maybe moving on to the Sunday challenge.
So moving on to the Sunday.
There was some interesting stuff in this Sunday, though, so it's fine. Sunday the 14th, only 56 players, so again, just a touch lower than we usually see. First, second, and third are all mono blue terror. I remind you that Walker said this deck was not the best deck. Fourth place was mono blue fair, fifth place was High Tide, sixth place was Jund Wildfire, seventh was Grixis Affinity, and eighth was Flickertron. So a bit of spice there at the end. And then the two near misses, ninth was Green Black Fog, and 10th was another copy of Jund Wildfire. Spiciness wise, the terrors are the terror lists. They're all basically the exact same. The fair list, though, in fourth is quite cool. Piloted by Terracotta 99. It has four Cyber Cryptomancers in the main deck. Which is a 2-mana 0/1 Moonfolk Ninja with Flash, and backup 1 and hexproof. And yeah, when it enters, you can put its counter on something, and whatever you put its counter on gains hexproof until the end of the turn.
Yep.
A card that I know when it came out in, I believe, March of the Machine or something like that,
Yeah.
you played in quite a few decks to varying results.
Yes. I do like Cyber Cryptomancer. It's very cool.
Yeah, bit of a weird one. None of the like Harrier Strix, Galeblade shenanigans going on, just the 4 Cryptomancers in that slot. Otherwise, a pretty clean like creature base with only 2 Snare Master sprites as like a bit of flex. And then spells, it's also got 4 mutagenic growths in the main. Back in fair mutagenic growth.
Was sick of dying to Lava Dart, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Cryptomancer and mutagenic growth is basically all you need. Screw you, Lava Dart.
Yeah, it does look very anti-burn, I guess, as my guys are not dying to your burn. And then on top of this, for some added nostalgia, in the sideboard, they have 3 Stormbound Geists, which is a card I have not seen in a fair sideboard for a long time. It's 1 double blue for a 2/2 flyer that can only block creatures with flying, and it has Undying. So it used to be just like an anti-mirror tool. I'm assuming it still is. It's sort of a reasonable threat against decks with loads of removal as well. So I guess this fair deck just really doesn't want to die to removal.
Makes sense, really. I also do like the number of Stormbound Geist and Cyber Cryptomancer. We do love that. We do love that. But yeah,
you just wait till it's died and then put it on it.
Is that what it is?
And then it's even bigger.
Even bigger.
It's even more of a threat.
Yeah, and then the fair player who you're playing against has boarded Inspire Golem for anti-mirror, and you're in a 4/4 flyer. 6/6 with your mutagenic growth as well, just fuck crack. But yeah, pretty sweet to see these. For sure. I do like some Stormbound Geists. It's pretty nice to see that. Yeah, I don't think I'd be running 4 Cryptomancers, but I do think the card definitely needs more credit than it is. It's a pretty sweet one.
It's definitely a commitment to at least trying that card with just putting 4 in, because you're basically going to see it loads.
Yeah. Obviously, it is an 0/1, but it can attack. So there is some merit, obviously, Ninja in it as well. But yeah, pretty sweet. Pretty sweet.
Other than that, there's not too much else interesting, sadly. The 7th place Grixis Affinity was obviously Luffy.
The only person playing Affinity.
Yeah, the exact same list that he always plays, with the 1 Cryogen Relic and the 1 Hunter's Blowgun. The 8th place, All Eyes on Me, Flickertron. Again, looks like Flickertron. There's nothing particularly different about it. It's still on the both Cryogen Relic and Muldrifter package, rather than just committing to one or the other.
Yep.
Which means there's still a Singleton Ephemerate in there as well. But yeah, other than that, very much a stockish Flickertron list.
Yep.
Anything else from you?
No. That was it. Sweet to see Green Black Fog, I guess, come in 9th. Come in 11th on Breakers with Kirby on Saturday as well. Sweet.
Yeah. I guess my only other thing to mention is the 11th place list from Noob, which is a mystical teachings pile, which I haven't seen in a long time. Yeah, I'm not even sure. I think it just wins with event cards justice as well, which is pretty old school.
All the nostalgia.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely going to time with that one.
Raging at someone else, probably. Anything else?
No, that's it from me.
Moving on from hot takes from last week. You starting? Yes.
Yeah, so the first listener hot take from Moist Moose was a new deck archetype will make the top 8 before Spider-Man releases. As we have just seen in those challenges, there is definitely no new archetypes there.
Yeah, like I wouldn't say Boris is the closest, right? I was thinking then, I was like,
oh yeah, true.
It's close. I don't know if it's
just
new.
Though with a difference in.
Yeah, it's close, but it's not quite. The example
we have to give it a different name.
Yeah, I guess. So maybe.
We'll give you half a point.
We'll give you give the listener half a point. You're on 5.5. But yeah, it was pretty close. Obviously, the example they give, which was like the Gruul Tremors deck, was their example in their like hot take. So not far off, but yeah, pretty sweet. Next one from Hardmaster Dave was that Cryotron will have 2 top 8s this week. Not bad. We had 1.
Oh, 1.
So.
And there was 2 decks with Cryogen Relic in the top 8. It's close, right?
But only 1 with Tron in. Damn, if there was 2 of each, we would have given you.
My hot take from last week at this point, it was that Mono Black Sack would have more copies in the top 8 than Mono Blue Terror. That is absolutely wrong because Mono Blue Terror is the best deck in the format and everyone wants to play it, apparently.
Mine was also quite humorous, to be fair, is that Jung Gardens will top 4 next week. My assumption was that Terror would be on the up and this would be a reasonable deck against Terror, but clearly everyone just wants the OG Gardens.
Yeah, there was quite a few. Like, there was a Gardens list in basically every challenge top 10, right? There was it 9th, 6th, 10th?
Yeah. And the 9th.
Green Black Fog.
Yeah. 9th to 6th, a 10th, and then, yeah, as you said, just missed out on the Sunday, but had 2 on Saturday, so I'll make up for it. But none of them ran rather than Chrysalis.
Nah, don't think you need to.
No, I don't think so either, but people like that card for some reason. I don't know why. Hot takes for next week?
Yeah, the first listener hot take is that Mono Blue Terror will get over 10 top 8 places over the weekend, which is probably not that far off. I feel like it got pretty close to that, right? What we had 3 on the Sunday,
8. Is that
2 on the Saturday, and 3 on the Friday.
Yeah. So not far off.
A 9th as well.
Yep, not far off.
See if it runs it back next week.
Most likely. This one I am definitely more excited for and hope happens. Is that Red Tron will top 8 a challenge next week, and that is from Addicted to Soda. That'd be cool. Missed that deck.
I haven't seen it in a while. My hot take for next week is on the Terror Train. I guess we'll probably need to pin it though, because it definitely won't happen next week. They said late September, but it's going to be early October. My hot take is that Terror or a card from Terror will be mentioned and considered for banning in the next PFP update. I hope they don't, because the deck is cool, but it is definitely overperforming right now.
Yeah, and I think that's always the scary thing, right? When it looks scarily good to us, they have data for other things as well. Like, they get most paper events, obviously, that they give a load of Pauper getting data. They get player draw data and all that sort of stuff. Which
I think it's a weird one as well, because it looks like in the short-term memory, it looks miles better than it's been in a long time. But that's because when Brood Skill came out, it was literally like the worst deck in the format, because it did nothing against that deck. So it went from basically being completely unplayable to the best deck in the format in like a few months.
So you're saying we need to go back to our Pauper thought of the week. Right, we've got to restart. Pop, Brood Scale, Trial Unbanned. Bring it back.
No, just all the glitters.
All right,
all the glitters and Terror batter each other.
My last hot take is that Spy will make a massive resurgence due to Terror being everywhere.
We haven't seen it in a while, to be fair.
No, I think we had one. So either last week or the week before, and then I think 2 weeks before that we had the one Spy Elves, and then that's it.
And it seems to be still like pretty high play, like amount in leagues. But it's just not really translating through.
Yeah, I don't think there's many pilots. I don't think it is very similar to Colgate, right? It doesn't have that much of an exciting play pattern to it. It does what it does. True. People don't find that stuff interesting, I guess. Anything else?
Does that mean you don't want to play Spy anymore? I can build elves again?
No.
Give me my Priest of Titanium.
I said people. I am not most normal people. Let's be honest, I'm far from normal. I think I was dropped on my head or something.
No, that's it from me.
Thank you all for the continued support. And if you have enjoyed this podcast, please do not forget to share it with your family, your friends, your local Pauper community, even your Magic Online team. So doing a banging job. And that is all from us at Cast and Commons. Don't forget to join our Discord. Until next time, don't forget to stay hydrated. Peace.
Bye.